Greetings, awesome students. My name is Josh Friedman. I ask that you call me Josh for the remainder of the semester. My apologies that I can't be here today. It's kind of odd, but I am in New York City at the moment. I'm attending a wedding of a really good friend of mine that I couldn't get out of if I wanted to. But I'm really grateful to Chris for being here with all of you, for letting you in the room, for sharing this video with you. So I thought I would just put a video together. I own a digital media company. I own my own great equipment, so I figured why not make a video. For those interested, I'm using a Canon 5D Mark III to make this film. We have 3 of them in my studio among other cameras. And I just thought I'd do a little video introduction to the class. So welcome to DM160. If you think you're in another class, now would be the time to go. But hopefully you're all in the right place. DM160 is video editing and motion graphics. We are meeting every single Thursday. Class starts at 6. I'm looking at my notes. Class starts at 6 o'clock. Says it goes to 11:15. This is the portion of the video where I share lots of really good news with you. Okay. The first bit of good news. I don't know if we're ever going to be here till 11:15. All right. We'll have to see how long we last each day, but I can almost guarantee you we're not going to be here till 11:15 most days. I'll give you more information on that when I'm in class. Second bit of good news. Next week, I'm going to be in Las Vegas. Yes, I am the best teacher you ever had. I'm not showing up to the first 2 weeks of school. No, next week in Las Vegas, it's going to be a conference that I'm going to called Photoshop World. Almost all of our faculty are going to be going together. Therefore, I can't get a sub. I can't be there. I almost didn't go, but my bosses all insisted, go to Photoshop World, cancel week 2. So, I'm not here today, but I'm glad you are. And next week, we're canceling class. It will be the only class that I cancel the rest of the semester, okay? So we're really going to pick up the class and get really into what we're doing week 3. So don't come next week. I'm sure I don't have to say it again. Pull out your calendars, though. Make sure you mark next week we're not going to be here, because I would hate it if you showed up and we didn't have a class. A little bit of information about me, who I am, what I do. I'll talk a lot more about this later on, but basically I own a company called 10 Digital Media. We do professional video production, professional audio production, music, and professional photography. I'm capable of doing all of that. My background is actually in music. For whatever it's worth, I have a master's degree in jazz studies for trumpet playing, which is the reason why I own a digital media company and make a living as a videographer and photographer and musician and music producer. I have a great team of guys that work with me, and we do promotional videos for the most part. We do videos for websites, we do videos for YouTube channels. I encourage you, at some point if you have time, check out my company's website. It will give you a much better idea of who I am and what I do. The site's basically a portfolio of my work for the past 10 years. So you'll hear music samples, you'll see a lot of my photography, and video samples of the types of videos that I create. As for this class, we're going to be creating a portfolio together. This portfolio will hopefully be something that you will be able to show off to people when you're done with the class as samples of work that you can create. We're going to be doing a few different types of videos. We're going to be talking about time-lapse videos. We're going to be talking about green screen videos. We'll be talking about promotional videos, and maybe even a short film toward the end of the semester. We're going to kind of create a little bit of a few different types of genres of video so that when you're done, you can have different types of samples. I'm a big proprietor of, if you are going to be making videos of any type to try to sell and create for people, you have to have really great samples to share with them. And this takes a lot of time to gather. It's taken me, like I said, about 10 years to put together the content that's on my site, although most of it I've done in the past 2 or 3 just to keep it recent. But if you want to be doing real estate videos, you have to have a great sample of real estate videos. If you want to be doing something cinematic, you have to have a great sample of something cinematic or multiple samples of that. If you want to be shooting events, weddings, bar mitzvahs, birthday parties, a lot of money to be had in that, but you have to have samples of that, okay? We're not doing all of that in this class, but by the end of the course, you will have lots of different samples of content that you can show off to future clients. One other great aspect of this class is that hopefully all of you by the end of the semester will be able to take an exam to be Adobe certified, okay? We'll talk more about Adobe in a little bit, but having the certification will help you in industry. It will give you a little bit of clout. Just say, hey, not only am I good at Adobe Premiere, but here's my certification. So one of our goals is by the end of the semester, we're all going to take an Adobe certification together. All right. That brings me to the class when it comes to grading. Who's had me before? If you've had me before as a teacher last year, just raise your hand real quick. I know that there's some of you in the room. Thank you for coming back, both to Golden West and to take another class of mine. If anybody else in the room talks to some of these people, you could put your hands down now if you haven't already. Anybody in the room, if you talk to these people, they're going to hopefully tell you that they had a great experience last year in Digital Media 100. They'll tell you that I talk way too much, but it's hopefully slightly informational. But I'm glad that they came back. I think that you'll understand, hopefully by the end of the semester. We have a lot of fun in this class, even though we're here for a long time. We'll be here for a few hours each night that the class meets. We're going to get through a lot of great content, though, and we're going to create some really great videos. When it comes to grading, show up to the class and you're going to do fine. I tell students that every semester. If you don't show up, you're going to have a very hard time getting through the content, getting through the projects, and getting them done and getting them turned in. Okay? If you have to miss a class here or there, I'm a big proponent of letting me know. Lots of ways to reach me. Email is by far the best way to reach me. I have a phone number on the syllabus. Don't call that number. I don't even know what phone it goes to. I won't pick it up. I won't check the messages. But if you email me at the email address that's on the syllabus, then please, by all means, I'll respond. I'm really good with email. I get back to people within a day usually, if not two. All right? But let me know if you're not here. By the middle of the semester, I'll know all of your names and I'll know each of you quite well. I get really worried if people don't show up. It's strange, but it's true. Also, if you're not there, I need to know that I need to catch you up on some content in the next class, because we don't necessarily do makeups, okay? If you get a little bit behind, I may be able to meet you before the class, or we can schedule an outside time, but generally speaking, I need you guys to be here, to be in the room, and to be working with me together, because we're going to get through content very quickly. And if you miss 4 hours of class one day, you're going to be pretty far behind. A couple details about the class itself. One, I use Blackboard. Blackboard is a piece of software that we're going to use for me to communicate. Blackboard is a piece of software that I'm going to use to communicate information and content to you. I will be posting announcements in Blackboard. I'll be posting assignments in Blackboard. We have a link to our Google Drive folder, which I'll get to in a moment, on our Blackboard. Almost every single class, I'm going to make a reference to something that's on the Blackboard page. If you have no experience with Blackboard, you should check it out now. Go to this website right here. It might be here. Could be up there. Just go to the website that's on the screen right now. And that will take you to your Blackboard page. You'll have to sign in. You'll have to know your login information to get to it. If you have some trouble with that today, try to figure it out between now and week 3. Otherwise, I'll help you with it on week 3. I mentioned a moment ago our Google Drive folder. The Google Drive folder is my way of getting content to you and for you to turn assignments in to me. If you've never used Google Drive before, I think you're really going to like it. I use it professionally with clients, with my assistants. We use Google Drive for all kinds of different files. You can make Word documents that you can share and edit in real time with people in other offices, Excel type of files, or just have folders with content in it. So the Google Drive folder is going to be your way to communicate with me and for me to communicate with you in terms of file transfer. Okay? So again, there's a link to that on the Blackboard page. Otherwise, here's the small URL right there. You can write it down if you want to, but like I said, most of the times you're just going to want to click on it directly from Blackboard. So there's a lot of things that we're going to be doing in this class. I want to take a moment to just talk for a moment about creativity. If I was actually here, we would go a lot more into creativity, because hopefully the reason why you are in this class is because you're a creative person and you want to try to learn somehow how to include more creativity into your life and also into your profession. Okay? Each one of you is probably going to do something different with video. Some of you may end up owning your own business. Some of you may end up working for yourself all the time. You might be working for somebody else. You might have a team of people working for you. But the bottom line is, if you have skills in video editing, video creation, there's a lot of job opportunities in the world right now, spanning a variety of industries that you can get into. And just by going through this class, you're going to be amazed at how much you are able to do with your life in terms of when it comes to creativity and video production. I want to start by sharing a video with you. This was aired on PBS. It's called How to Be Creative.
What is creativity? It is such a difficult question.
We're finding that it's not just a simple left brain, right brain distinction.
Working collaboratively is absolutely a summation of perspectives, and as more and more things get made that way, it will always be beneficial.
I think creativity, for the most part, is a very messy affair. This notion that it's coming from nowhere, I think, is false.
Some people think that creativity is just one of these things that you're born with, but what creative people that I've spoken to talk about is that it's a process. One of the first creative acts is figuring out, how do I do this? That's one of the scariest moments, is not knowing where to begin. Whatever we can do to expand our capacity for uncertainty, that's a wonderful preparation for creativity. One of the key elements, I think, is something that the English poet John Keats called negative capability. This ability to stay in a space where you don't exactly know what's going to happen next. Willing to chase down ideas, and are also willing to understand that not all of them are going to lead somewhere, but the experience of pursuing an idea will influence the next idea. Each creative person, I think, develops his or her own set of tools and prompts for their creativity. The creative impulse is one piece of the process, but at a certain point you have to sit down and do the work. Understanding how to work is a key part of bringing your creativity to a point where you can share it with other people. For me, the challenging part is understanding that it is this spiral of excitement and despair, and to allow myself the despair, because it leads to new things. So that's another piece of creativity that's so essential, is knowing that you have to keep at it, that it's not gonna spring full-blown out of your head. The painter Chuck Close has this wonderful saying, inspiration is for amateurs, the rest of us just get to work.
The latest neuroscience of creativity is really exciting to me, because we're finding that it's not just a simple left brain, right brain distinction. People who are more open to combining lots of different associations that are coming from various different brain networks do tend to be more creative. There's lots of stages of the creative process you have to take into account, and different stages of that process activate different neural networks. A neural network is just simply different areas of the brain communicating with each other. So during the stage which I'm trying to learn lots of things, called the preparation stage, you see a lot of brain activation in areas associated with attention and deliberate focus, called executive functioning. Then there is this important stage where you let it go. It's called the incubation stage. It's really important. There is research showing that mind wandering away from the current task and then returning to the task, those people have more creative ideas when they come back. And then there's another stage of illumination or insight, where these connections automatically, subconsciously collide and then reach the threshold of consciousness. And you're like, oh my gosh, that's the idea. And then once that happens, you're not done. You're not creative yet. So that's why it's really important for this last stage of the creative process, verification, where you use these executive processes or these critical thinking skills. You think about your audience and you really craft the message so it's best received by people, because some of the greatest creative ideas of all time can easily be lost because they're not packaged in the right way or not consumable. I think what cognitive scientists are on the forefront of trying to discover right now is isolating all these separate processes. And what interests me is how we bring all this together to come up with a more nuanced model of creativity. So a complete understanding of creativity is going to require bringing all this perspective together.
A good, healthy collaboration will always make a creative process better. It may be that we're in a time when the tools that we have available to us, especially the digital tools, are so deep in their complexity that they really challenge the limits of the experiences of a single human being. So I think any endeavor or any discipline that requires you to create something novel and new is going to benefit from collaboration. It's almost like the members of a collaborative group make up a single meta-artist that is the sum of all their skills and the sum of all their perspectives in a way that you really couldn't possibly do as a single person. It's the conversations that are really the results of additional ideas that are more than just the sums of the individual people. But there's a creative maturity that you need to take very seriously and that you need to stand by, that your ideas are not you, and criticisms of your ideas are not criticisms of you. You also need to be not married to your ideas. You need to be ready to let go. I've benefited from working with people with very different views. If you're working with someone who's a carbon copy of yourself, you may as well be working alone. I think it's very difficult to be creative without trust. A healthy collaborative process will only amplify your voice and the voices of your teammates. Certainly when you work alone, there's a sense of pride that you made this thing all by yourself with your own hands, and that's a great feeling. But when you work in a group, it's rewarding in that generally what you made is a lot grander, and there's a different sense of pride of like, I can't believe I was part of something this big. It's just such a beautiful way to connect with other human beings and to make something together.
You hear that, Samson? Beautiful.
I don't think there's any creating without being influenced by other work, by other people. It can't just come from nowhere. I think we have to let go of this notion of originality. We have this romantic notion that ideas kind of come out of the blue, like we have a visual of the light bulb going off. Even though we have these sparks of insights, we have these flashes where we suddenly realize something, that doesn't mean that that came from nowhere. Even though it happened in your subconscious, you were still processing all these influences that you have in your system. How we create new ideas is by using this remix-like technique, by copying things, by transforming them, by combining them. It's in all sorts of creative work. So by copying, I mean simple mimicry. And it's something that we do a ton of, like that's how we learn. Transforming is simply taking an idea and creating variations on it. If you're going to innovate, I think it requires innovating on top of a base. You are transforming what is there. You are innovating on top of a platform that already exists. And by combining ideas, I simply mean when you can take existing ideas that nobody thought of putting together and make them work, make them harmonize. That's extremely innovative. Works that seem extremely radical, I think they are also the product of these techniques. So something like the Gutenberg press, the printing press, that invention didn't just kind of come out of the blue. It was very much a merging of different technologies that came together. Movable type and ink and paper. And then what Gutenberg added to the mix was the screw press. The screw press was not used in printing technology. He used it to press oil or to press wine. So Gutenberg took a technology from another field and merged it into his own. It's not something that people would think of as being a remix necessarily, but I think those same techniques are at work. He's copying a lot of elements, he's taking an element from another field, he's merging it into his own, and he's doing a lot of very clever transformation on top of it to make it all work. So the benefits that we get from letting people use these techniques are the same benefits that we get from any kind of creativity. It really is giving people the freedom to copy, transform, and combine, make new stuff out of old stuff.
Anyone can be creative in the domain that is best for them to express themselves. It's important to think about creativity a little bit differently than just this catch-all thing.
For me, creativity is making something that didn't exist before, and so that could be a work of art, it could be making dinner. Creativity is something that you can find just about everywhere.
By any definition of hasn't been done before, having additional perspectives and skills to draw from, I think will always be beneficial. I can't see it hindering anything.
I think most people who do creative work are combining things and transforming them. But at the end of the day, if you keep pushing, you can eventually get someplace that is beyond what you thought was possible.
I realize that one was a little bit long, but I hope you got something out of it. I think it's really interesting to understand yourself as a creative person. I think that this is something that throughout most of education, people look over. Specifically, when you were in high school, everyone talked about, trying to get you to excel in math, in English, in science, and you had one creative arts class if you were lucky. Well, you will excel in all of those other things if you understand creativity. Here's a really interesting video about creativity in the internet and how things have changed so drastically in the past few years. as technology develops, we're going to be talking a lot in this class about new technology, new cameras, new techniques, new software. I've been really lucky that in my business, I've purchased a drone, quadcopter, I like to refer to it as. Those of you who've had me before have seen my quadcopter before, but it's a really interesting, amazing tool for getting just different types of shots when it comes to the video world. And we'll talk a lot about drone technology. I happen to be a bit of an expert in drone law, the state of affairs right now with drones. We'll talk quite a bit about it. We'll even have a day where I can bring out my drone and we'll talk about how to operate it and such. But here's an example of a video that I recently shot with my drone. What's amazing about that is that we can get a quadcopter in locations and places that a real helicopter can't even get. So even if I could rent a helicopter and a pilot for the day, there is absolutely no way that we would be able to get it into that location or get it into that area. I'll be sharing more drone videos with you guys as the year goes on. But here's one I think you would really appreciate. I figured as long as we have the equipment, here's my ALS Ice Bucket video. Hey everybody, this is Josh. David Reinwald, thank you for nominating me. Doing this Ice Bucket Challenge, I'm challenging my brother Brett, and my nephew and my niece. And we're filming it with a drone. Go. Woo! Oh, that's cool. So one interesting point I want to discuss before I share with you one of my favorite films that's ever been made that you probably haven't seen before. I want to talk about the software that we're going to be using in the class. We, for the most part, are going to be learning Adobe Premiere Pro. Now, everybody in this room, I think, has a different level of experience, from maybe understanding a little bit of Photoshop and nothing in the video world to probably having a lot of experience creating films, editing, using a variety of different types of softwares and platforms. The three industry standards right now are still considered Avid Pro, Final Cut Pro X, and Adobe Premiere Pro. About a year ago, we made a big effort here, at least I made an effort, to switch over Golden West College from Final Cut Pro to Adobe Premiere Pro. When I get back in town, I'm going to give you all about a dozen reasons as to why Adobe Premiere Pro is becoming the industry standard in video production, specifically home video production, independent video production, anything that's not part of the cinematic world, and even some things that are. My company switched over about a year and a half ago. It was right about when Final Cut Pro X came out. And about 6 months later, CNN switched over. So we had a big press release, CNN finally catches up with 1-0 digital media. But it's a big trend right now. Well, the thing about software is that there's constantly a flow of different softwares that are going to be at the top of the industry, and every few years this rolls over, okay? If you have been using Final Cut Pro X or 7 or Pro X, you're going to get a lot out of this class. You will then, by the end of it, have an understanding of Final Cut and Adobe Premiere. In an ideal world, you'll want to know both. That being said, you don't need to know both. And I believe very strongly that by the end of this class, you will understand why Premiere Pro is kind of taking over right now from Final Cut as an industry leader in video production. Again, I've got about a dozen reasons that I'll share that I'm really adamant about. Why I'm a lot happier using Adobe Premiere Pro. One of those reasons, by the way, is because Adobe also makes After Effects. And After Effects is an amazing tool for motion graphics. I know that Final Cut has motion, Premiere has After Effects. I would argue, as with most people in the industry, that After Effects is a far more complete piece of software when it comes to motion graphics. And it's seamless with dragging an After Effects project into a Premiere project.
What's going on, world? It's your boy, Fever Finibus. Now, it's been a while since I gave you an update, so I figured I'd give you a little something. Let's get it started. Okay, first things first, let's start with this poetry night I started called Spoken Notes. Yeah. Something me and Black Ink put together, 10 poets, crazy evening, telling you it's lovely. Watch a little piece.
7 into 11, I extracted angels from heaven.
Boy, nice.
I went to the moon.
Yeah. Now, let's go on to the next project I'm going to tell you about. The next project is Tales of Grimm. Tales of Grimm is the first movie out of my book. Telling you the scene is being shot as we speak, and people, it's nice. I'm telling you, man, this movie's going to blow you away. It's the next blockbuster. I did the artwork for these. As you can see, they look nice, don't they? Scary as hell. Alright, the next thing I want to talk to you about is Empty Tales of a Full Mind. Part 2 of the trilogy I'm working on for my books. It's coming soon, so be on the lookout for that one. I think I gave you all the highlights of what's going on. Yeah, I'm going to call it quits over here now. Alright people, thanks for watching. Have a good night. Fino.
They're also made by the same company that makes Photoshop, Adobe. Almost every filmmaker on the planet has to own Photoshop. And one of the things Adobe has done to make this seamless is they've created the most recent version of all of these softwares under one bundle called the Creative Cloud. On our Blackboard page, I have some information about Adobe Creative Cloud. It's $19.99 a month. You do not have to own it. We have it on every computer here in the room. We also have it on a handful of computers in the library here on campus. So you do not need to own it. That being said, I would highly recommend each of you get a copy of Adobe Creative Cloud on your computers. It's going to come with Photoshop, it's going to come with Premiere Pro, it's going to come with After Effects. It's also going to come with Illustrator, InDesign, the professional version of Acrobat, Bridge, and a whole lot more, all made by Adobe for $20 a month. And the best part of that is that as upgrades come out, you're just going to get them for free, for no additional charge. And that way, you and everybody else who's using Adobe products will always be on the same platform. We're no longer going to have a situation where, well, this office is on Creative Suite 4, and this office is on Creative Suite 6. Well, I can't get a file from them to them because they're not on the same version. With Creative Cloud, it's a no-brainer. When an update comes out, you click Update, you have the newest update. Everybody has the newest update. You don't have to pay any more for it. And as a student, like I said, it's only $19.99 a month. So you don't have to get it. It's not required. But I think you'll want to have a version of your own at home in order to practice with this and then, of course, use it once the class is done. So again, this is kind of a shortened class period today. It will never be this short again. We're not going to be here next week. After that, we're going to start class at 6 o'clock. We'll see how long we're here. But I want to leave you with one of my favorite films ever made. This is on Vimeo, and it's a little bit weird, a little bit bizarre. But it kind of shows us some of the capabilities if you've got some really great equipment and a lot of creativity, what you can do with Adobe Premiere Pro. So once again, Chris, thank you so much for subbing for me today. I definitely owe you one. Everybody else, it's going to be a great semester. I'm really excited to meet you guys in 2 weeks. Remember, no class next week. I'll be in Las Vegas. If you need to reach me, here's the email address one more time. Meanwhile, enjoy the couple weeks, and I will see you soon. Have a great night. Take care.